Testing, testing, testing. Welcome, your heart trusted soul epilogue to the other side of the game. Why, greetings and salutations. How we doing?
I am good. I'm excited.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad to help with your excitement. We had such an enjoyable foray into play, living the life of a few of the human agents that are involved with Sash in and around Gary. I thought that it would be illuminating for us to experience the life of their commander, at least in part, Commander Ross. Which, before we begin, are there any questions, suggestions, or hypotheses?
No, I mean, because I kind of know who they are as a person, even though I didn't have long to play them. So, when I threw them together right before the other game, it allowed me to form them quick. You know, I'm pretty good at doing stuff like that, so this will be fine for me. I'm curious as to see what's going to happen now.
Well, first things first, the timing of our little get-together will be just roughly 6 hours before the team has arrived and began bunking down in the Gary Airport at the Diaz location there. So Ross has been in the region for roughly 4 days by this point, having left a relatively clandestine intelligence briefing in St. Petersburg, and having flown nearly all night and arrived a little jet lagged, a little bit behind the 8 ball in regards to his reserves of strength, patience, and calm. That sound good to you?
Yes, I'm starting to form that in my head.
All right, sounds like a plan. So, second, of course, technology is being its usual fun-loving self at this point. Isn't loading, but he arrives, he touches down, he's given a bunk, which is literally an office with a cot, desk, and secure laptop. He's awaiting his contact from Theist, as they have been running point on this region for the last almost decade. They have been in the area longer, but before they officially took over, before SAD was actually the point person for Theist in this area, there was another organization loosely affiliated. They were pseudo-Christian, but also vaguely non-denominational. They were called the Knights of St. Judas. They were a cowboy outfit, which is saying a lot when a commander with Sash considers someone a cowboy outfit, because Sash, unbeknownst to the width and breadth of their own agents, operates a several-pronged attack against the denizens of the dark. Most people consider Sash the door kickers and name takers and the rough and ready, permanently angry SWAT team of witch hunting. So anything supernatural, they pretty much kick open the door and kill everything moving. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. However, what most people don't realize is that Sash also has a clandestine intelligence gathering aspect. They have boots on the ground, people enmeshed in local environments and hotspots of anywhere from a week to a month before the doors get kicked open. And while they are an emergency response team, a high-level, high-danger response team, they also conduct their own investigations. They also indulge in a level of skullduggery that most would not expect. Their image of being just a hammer is just that. It's an image they use to hide what they really do. Well, at least a part of what they really do. And Ross initially while a door kicker has grown into understanding that ebb and flow of things.
I mean, if everybody only thinks you're a stupid brute, they get loose-lipped around you and start talking, not realizing you can understand what they're talking about. So yeah, I get it.
Your point person that you're waiting on, who, as per usual with these sorts of things, is running behind Adam Cooper. He's stationed somewhere in Illinois, just outside of the city. As far as you understand, they have several local offices where they work out of. SAD is a little bit behind the times as far as you're concerned. They're all about collecting intelligence and utilizing the information and controlling the ebb and flow of things. And would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your wits plus subterfuge for me, please? Your target number is 3.
So much for military precision. He maneuvers around the cot, flops down, rubs his temple. I at least hope the coffee's fucking good around here. What a shit show. Gary. This better be good. Sending me all the way here for, who knows what. Flops back on the rack a little bit, stretches out, just, these old bones, cracking his spine and rolling his shoulder, getting comfortable.
The moment that the rack actually stops being unyielding and unconditionally stayed and working your back like it's a heavy bag, Cooper walks through the door, smoking. It is clear from his less than whip smart, tacked down, buttoned up demeanor that he is definitively not military. He is specifically either from a civilian contractor or one of the less militaristic arms of the organization. Doesn't speak too well in your opinion because you are very much accustomed to military position. You're very much accustomed to dealing with ex-military or at least police officers. And while everyone has been utilizing you as the hammer these last few years as you transition from field work to more intelligence, you have been made aware that SAD, much like the former Knights of St. Judas, have also begun utilizing confidential informants. They have begun brokering arrangements with the monsters. They have been using the monsters to track the monsters to obtain intelligence and actionable intel to help their organizations be more effective. That seems like a very slippery slope to you. And from everything you are made aware of, Cooper is one of the leads of that particular movement. So as he comes through smoking his cigarette, trailing a wisp of cancerous smoke behind him, how is Ross going to respond?
Ross sits up, eyebrow kind of raising. No uniform.
Nope.
And you're smoking in a government building.
Yeah, well, we are the government. What does that got to do with me? You do
Put
know
it out.
You do know what it is that we are facing.
I don't care. Put it out.
He rose his shoulder, and you could tell that he was a scrapper, and he is considered less young than he should be. That there is a serious consideration of doing the tango to see which of you will lead this dance. But instead, he moves to your desk and stabs his cigarette into the countertop. The plastic heating up and leaving a dark black mark upon it. The cigarette and its ash across the desk. You happy now?
Yeah, I like my lungs the way they are. He stands up to his full height. He rolls his shoulders again and sits now in the desk chair and motions to the other chair across from him. I don't know what this little dog and pony show is you guys got going on here already. But things are going to have to change, it seems, because things have gotten too lax. You have let these creatures multiply and run roughshod all over the citizens of this wonderful place.
You clearly have no idea what... And that's fine. That's to be expected. I doubt that intelligence is shared as freely as it should be amongst us. I'm not going to hold it against you. Exactly.
Oh, Cupcake, you couldn't hold anything against me, trust me.
Maybe one day we'll find out, though I typically like my men with less facial hair than that, but we'll see what happens. For your information, as you are clearly not quite aware, operationally you are secondary to SAD. Your position here is for minimally 6 months. Beta team, the lead team, is already boots on the ground. We've had several interagency briefings already. Your team is the last to show. Partially, I'm not sure why, but something with your upper management has decided that you all are just the right thing to put the nail in the coffin instead of being the tip of the spear on this. So I'm here to give you a quick debriefing as to what we've managed thus far. You are not going to be reporting to me. You'll be reporting to Beta team. Do we have any issues with this so far? Or do we have to kick this up the chain for you to sit up and take notice?
No, I'm fine with talking with Beta team.
All right, so this side of the border, things are all jacked up. Beta team, and if I'm not mistaken, a few members of your own team were just here with the Abandoned King operation. Things were not mopped up as well as had been believed. And because of that, we've lost one of our UCs. They've gone dark, and that's a horrible thing because they were a key piece of intelligence when it comes to dealing with these particular flanks. The situation here, because of, I'm guessing, the fallback of the Abandoned King, has grown extraordinarily tenuous. The beasts are blowing up buildings and acting like full-blown terrorists. There was a UC locally here in Indiana that has been reporting nonstop to a dead drop. Their next report is due in 2 days. But because of the casualties, it's time for an uptick in your style of carrying things out. Do you have any questions?
So, if I'm getting this right, you put somebody in, they were getting you solid information, and now you've lost them somehow.
Yes,
Nobody knows.
Our key UC went dark. We haven't heard from him. However, we have the Indiana boys have a secondary UC in with this lot, and they're to dead drop within the next 2 days, and hopefully we can pull them out. With tensions rising and violence spreading, and it's time to use your style of addressing these things.
You keep saying that, but you won't say what that style is.
So you expect me to tell you your style, or you want me to tell you the gossip about your style?
I'd love to know what people think we do.
Well, it's quite obvious. Have you read the debriefing on the Abandoned King. We've had to cover up 15 non-blank deaths because of what your teams did when they were here. We did manage 10 blanks, 1 non-determinate, and several bits of intelligence as to where they had operated from. But most of that is dead intel at this point.
Can't make a cake without breaking a few eggs, you know?
Yeah, but every time you all called in, there's a metric shit ton of money spent to lubricate the masses that turn a blind eye. There's only so many gas leaks, 10-car pileups, and tragic motorboating accidents we can create without stretching incredulity.
Look, I get it. You think we're stupid and rough around the edges, but we get shit done, because obviously if you didn't get shit done, you wouldn't keep calling us in.
I'd rather not call you in at all, but it's beyond me. It's literally above the both of our pay grade. So here you are. Only thing I'm counseling, only thing I'm hoping that you all do is don't spread this shit across the border. I've got my side of the line well in hand. And if things stretch across the border, we will not help with the cover-up. We will not help with the bodies. We will not. One of the reasons why I push so hard to not be the top kick on this situation. I don't agree with it. The last time you all had boots on the ground is hard enough to explain. And I personally believe that you all riled up these things because of how heavy-handed you were. And I don't think you're stupid. I think that worse, you're smarter than you let on, but you do it anyway. All my years with the company has taught me never, ever believe what someone tells you, and only believe half of what they show you.
Look at you. You might just make a stash agent out of you yet.
Why would I take the pay cut?
Oh, hurting my heart. Alright, get out of here. I'm done.
I thought as much. Look, we don't have to be so antagonistic, but if we really do have to be antagonistic, let me just say that I know more about your team than I let on. Not that anyone has bothered to gather a dossier of the redacted information and put it someplace where it could be utilized or leaked. But just know that I am aware of your team.
Gives him what some would assume is winning smile, but it's more of a very painful grimace and kind of feral snarl mixed.
He turns on the charm, and for a split second you can see, one, he's being completely honest that he doesn't want trouble, and two, he very much is prepared for the worst sorts of trouble, and he will make it difficult for your team going forward. You are sure that instead of being the faceless right hand of God, that things would get hectic, to say the least. You've dealt with that type before, but never one so direct. Leaves a interesting taste in your mouth. You're expecting chocolate, but it's something completely otherwise.
Hence the grimace.
Have a good night, Reginald. And with that, he leaves, sparking up a cigarette halfway before he even clears your door and is on his way out. That is unsettling. No one knows your first name.
Oh, yeah, that is a definite what the F moment in his head about being called Reginald.
As you settle in, you realize that in all of his distraction and his pacing, his chest puffery, besides Cooper, the only thing you know is that he claims to be sad based on his operation standing It is clearly probably telling the truth on that. The fact that he's been as direct as he was and showed a portion of his hand in advance does not surprise you that there is suddenly a thumb drive resting on your cot where he was standing near. Distraction and sleight of hand, misinformation, that seems very much operationally like a spook.
He rolls his eyes because we're all supposed to be on the same side in this shenanigans and fuckery going on. But then he carefully puts the thumb drive into the laptop and boots everything up.
There's a breakdown on the Abandoned King incident. There is a huge database of information outlined Project Gabriella. They literally saved a dying cancer patient, a person with near top secret clearance, and helped him become one of the monsters to get embedded to hunt other monsters. The subject's name, the agent's name, isn't listed. It's been redacted. The only thing that shows as far as their identification is a name, ABNR, a chosen facsimile of the agent's call sign. The ramifications of them placing an agent in the midst of those beasts as one of those beasts chills the blood.
See what happens when they try to play God. Apparently that fucked up. This Abner person. So now they've lost him.
There is a breakdown as to the power structures in Indiana. A high table called the Tower, a low table called the Rabble. There are pictures and something, a gang or a coterie or cabal known as the Wizards, who are able to do fantastical, near Harry Potter-esque things, such as pull blood from across the room, dissolve flesh with a look, flight, excessive speed, and the ability to absorb someone's soul. They are supposedly secretly running both the high and the low tables in Indiana. And while their headquarters were formerly known as the Abandoned King, there's a network of warrens and rat holes beneath the Abandoned King, which is probably still being utilized as to why they aren't being seen on the street such high regularity.
Ross has had, unbeknownst to most, except for his doctor and maybe a few people who would know his name is Reginald, that he suffers from recurring ulcers, and they are stress ulcers. And as he's reading this information, he starts patting his pockets looking for the ever-present roll of Rolaids there, and just thumbs 4 into his mouth and starts chewing.
As the chalky, now accustomed flavor of pureed strawberry with a hint of mint, dried and desiccated, eases down his throat from the chewed up Rolaids, a glaring fact stands out in the intel. These are pages from an actual written report, a transcribed report that was jotted down and written, put it into another file, and you can see where it makes references to information you don't have. And Ross can smell the hand of agency spooks all over this. They need to know that rivals even the American military, because they'll tell you everything without saying anything.
There's that trust. marks some things for himself, some things to look further into, what he thinks they might be willing to tell him more about, to prepare for his team to get here. Just the amount of knowledge and information that he just now got is a bit scary to him, but he gets up, makes sure to shut the laptop, pull the thumb drive, pocket it, and go looking for beta team lead.
Oh, that's easy enough. They have the lead APC, so you move through the hangar across towards the monster of an APC. It is an APC designed to be a mobile command center. They are loaded for bear, both literally and metaphorically. They have heavy rifles. They have the newest tactical bullet shield armor, which is proof against almost everything except for large arms fire at close range. They individually, anyone wearing that armor is effectively a tank. You can knock them down, but you probably will not puncture that armor unless, of course, you bring a shotgun up close and personal. And if you are using a shotgun, you would definitely have to use solid slug, because scatter shot would just be an annoyance. They also have the latest phosphorus ammunition. It's a combination phosphorus, cesium, and some inert gas that causes them to metabolize when combined with cauterized flesh, i.e. the heat from the shell mixes with the gas, mixes with the phosphorus, mixes with the cesium, causing a burn, much like from the myths and legends about werewolves that silver burns them on contact. It supposedly does the same to anything living. You saw a test fire on a cadaver, and what was left of it looked as if someone had decided to make Korean barbecue out of it.
He just kind of walks along the APC and trails his fingers all across it. Whistles low. This is a beauty. Wow. Kind of jealous.
And that feeling of jealousy gets worse because you realize who Beta Company's leader is. It is Jefferson Sanders. He has been a thorn in your side because he literally is the gossip about Sash. All of the worst aspects of gossip. He is a fourth generation member of Sash. What most people don't realize is that Sash is an American-based, European-trained outfit initially. They were Hessian soldiers trained by a Catholic organization called the Society of Leopold, who sold their services sometime during the War of 1812 to the Americans to hunt down the unkillable. And from there, through various steps along the way with the OSS, through the CIA, through the Marine, they began broadening their base of options and became SASH. They are a counter-insurgency operation from a multiplicity of branches of the armed forces, as well as civilian contractors and directly trained officers and agents. And Sanderson is there chewing his wad and looking over handwritten reports. He looks up from beneath his brow and sees you, and the smile that spreads across his face is one of actual adulation, which makes it so much worse because he generally means it. Well, hell no! Look at the Cap Ross. You gonna be back up on this, boy?
Seems so.
That's good. We know that you're gonna mop them up real good, but hopefully there won't be much for you to mop up. But I gotta tell you, I was just this way a little less than a year ago. We routed a whole blew a whole nest of them motherfuckers.
The fact that you were here less than a year ago is starting to make some sense as to why.
Yep. I'm sure you heard the operational reports about how smooth things went. We were notified on a short range mission. We were actually headed down to Indianapolis when we got rerouted here. Some sad and I mean that not just the acronym, I mean some sad SOB called in a Mayday, and we came guns a-blazing. We laid that motherfucker down to the bare bones. Left here with about 9 scalps before they dusted up on us.
Ross is just trying so hard not to just like outright laugh, one, but two, just it's just not a hill for him to die on today, so he's just gonna let this man think what he think. But impressive. Thanks for leaving some for us, I guess.
Would have been more impressive, but you know how many fucking species traders they had amongst them? Sitting there rubbing elbows and God knows what else with these monsters. They even blew a hole through the floor. Lost 2 men going in after them. Not sure how exactly, considering we killed everything that was moving, but from the video feeds and the helmet, here's the reason why, and he patched the armor that he's wearing. We got the upgraded stuff for a situation like this. Took a lot of requisitioning, but you know how the wheels of supply move. So I thought they had you across the pond there. Why'd they bring you back?
Seems something's up the chain. Some hullabaloo and side talk about them losing somebody that they needed. And, if anything, we might not be the best door kickers, but we're better at finding people than you are.
Yeah, I'm sorry you get stuck with that. It wasn't my cup of tea. And I'd like to hurry up and finish this up, because once we finished here last time, we got sent up to Milwaukee. One of our off-the-book brothers and sisters in arms had caused a whole hell of a mess. By the time we got there, however, the monster was dead. They lost more good, upstanding soldiers in this fight than they had cared to known, and they had cleared out the base, which was weird. But we don't ask questions. We just do until we can't do no more, and then do a little extra.
Crazy how that goes.
It is. It's a pain in my ass, to be perfectly honest. I'd much rather we do what we did in Philadelphia and just drop a goddamn bomb. Of course, everybody's talking about that be too damn much. Don't get it.
Because there are still people living here.
You say that, and they say that, but perfectly honest, if I had to stay in the surroundings with monsters like this, I don't know if I would not much rather have the bomb. Be perfectly. Hell, can you imagine waking up with your neighbor being one of these creatures? Or worse yet, you come to yourself and you find out that your boss or your landlord, or hell, what if they get their hands on? Didn't you have a second or third wife? I forget whether that's true or not. But anyway, imagine your wife out with the girls, teasing her hair, twerking and all that, and all of a sudden one of these things just reach into her head and take control of her, turn her into one of them. I heard all it takes is a fingernail scrape, maybe a bite. Next thing you know, you wake up dead or furry.
Well, we're talking about that ex-wife, I wouldn't care, because that means I could get to shoot her legally.
Well, just point me in the right direction. I'll take care of that for you. But this time around, we supposedly back up for our boys. There's some, what do they call them? Looks through his notes. Yeah, the local boys here were called Knights of St. Judas. Sounds downright religious. Be proud on to help these boys out. So these knights, it seems, have been working in the area since we left. And some of the bases that we are using across the city are formerly theirs. We're supposed to get in here, do a basic patrol, grid layout. They also brought in the Sigma team. They're boots on the ground and meshed with the police officers. Haven't got many people in with the stadies yet, but they're working on it. And there's also Gamma team. Gamma ain't in. I really don't like work. You know, that's old man Anderson who working with them. Damn soft-hearted tourists. Fucking shame. You know, his son went Coast Guard.
No, really?
Yeah. Feel a little sorry for him, but you know, apple don't fall too far from the tree. Anderson talking about we need to study them, make amends so that we don't lose so many people. Fuck that. The casualties determine the value of the battle. How many lives were bravely lost during World War II? You think any of them would take it back and say, no, let somebody else go in my place? That makes that man sometimes irks me. I'm so glad that they are enmeshing themselves with the stadies. That way they'll only be at some of the roadblocks and set up a perimeter and handle the cameras. Otherwise, I'm sure he would chat my hide. So your team, what I was thinking being is just going to be your team and my hard charge. You all offer support, cover fire. We work counter circuits until we get a big hit. And then we just go in there and light the whole place up. Sounds like a plan?
Yeah, dude. Clean them up. Take them out.
I was supposed to meet with this local guy from from Illinois, Cooper. You seen him? I ain't seen him yet. He supposedly was on site, but
no. It's funny. These little desk jockeys around here seem to be running late a lot. No military precision.
Military precision is a bad word for most of them folks. I heard that they are reaching out to a private entity, private company to help offset our costs. You hear about that?
Oh, but
yeah,
so
private
got
company.
Civilians.
That's what I hear. I don't really believe it because I ain't seen it yet, but we did get the new stuff, so I'm guessing money's coming in from somewhere. Supposedly this is going wide within the next year. Seems we may have to button up our ships to fly straight. Supposedly, there's intelligence coming out of Chicago that may give us a full-fledged reason to be there more than just as an emergency relief effort. A couple of months ago, there was an incident down at their medical center, at their John Stroger Hospital, and a Gamma team handled that, but clearly they chose the wrong team. So what I hear is that once we button this down, we're gonna head to the big time. We're gonna move into the heart of the city and spread out like the righteous fury of God himself.
Gives me something to look forward to. Alright, I guess let's get this shit done.
Yeah, we still got a couple of hours for your team to make it here. I don't know why they didn't just fly in, but people. I will start the first leg of our tour, and if you need anything, you know the frequency we on.
Yeah, dude. All right, man.
You look a little hungry, Ross. You might want to go grab you something to eat. It's gonna be a long one. That he's off gathering his team and starting the very typical, it's us versus them. The fate of humanity is on the line, and we are the front line. We will not fail. We will make sure that every single last one of these monsters regrets the day that they were created. Except for it's not sad as shortly, nor as directly. And he drones and mixes metaphors And you could swear as you make your way back across the hangar towards the loadout for your team, you even hear metaphors about Rocky and the Gipper, and you hear, "We shall never retreat, we shall never surrender," and a few other metaphors that go up on walls and sports bars and garages across America being touted as if they are words from the Bible.
As Ross walks away, he indulges in the mental picture that he tends to use for that man often as Foghorn Leghorn, and chokes back the laugh that threatens as he goes to try to find something to eat.
As he makes his way through the hangar, he realizes that the hangar has been outfitted, and it's not something that he is expecting. While the office and bunk he has been provided has been a little on the threadbare side, just perfunctory, it's functional, which is all he really needs. But as he makes his way through the hangar, the rest of the hangar, he realizes that this has been here for a while. This is actual, real, solid concrete. This is actual, real, solid structure. This is not the quick thrown together of the usual Quonsets or tents or mobile centers that they normally operate out of. And unlike most, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll his wits and larceny or etiquette as he absently, covers himself by seeming to just simply be taking in the options for grub, and he takes in the site of the garage itself and its building, its fabrication. Yeah, he's not sure how they faked it, but yeah, it's been here for a while, but they faked it being here for a while. He was foolish to think that they would have actually bothered to have a facility in sight on deck. Yeah, he was just seeing ghosts. More than likely his ulcer acting up. And the moment that he thinks it's just his ulcer acting up, his phone goes off. And it's her.
How does she keep finding me? I'll find out who keeps giving her my number, and I'm going to strangle the life out of them.
Do you bother to answer or put her straight to voicemail?
Why not? This night's been interesting for him. He's gonna flip open the phone and put it to his ear.
Reggie?
Yes.
Now don't be taking that army tone with me. Listen here. Your son and his knucklehead cousin have decided to go into the city. Now, I know that you are back because your mama told me, so I need you to get downtown and get this boy out of that club. You know, I don't want to have to go down there and make a fool of him, and he will listen to you without me having to drag him by his ear.
What club?
I don't know, the sucking club or whatever it is called. It's downtown. I'll send you the address.
I'm not in Chicago right now. You're gonna have to handle this one.
Well, you better get here and get your son. Foodhead boy almost as hard-headed as you are.
He's only my son when he messes up. I wonder what that is.
Because he takes after his father. He's ugly. He's definitely his father, son.
Well, I wasn't ugly when you were... You know what? Not. And then he hangs up. And dials his son.
It goes to voicemail.
Look here, boy. Your mama gonna come get you if you don't leave wherever you at right now. I can't help you. I'm not in the city. So you better do something if you don't want her to come down there in her house dress and drag you out by your ear in front of your little friends. Good night. And hangs up.
He hangs up, and there's a all too well-known feeling. Although his son always answers. It's one of the few we have calls. It's more than just about the basic respect of child to adult. About you only call him if there's something important. You know that texts typically work. He will FaceTime you until the cows come. But if you call, he's supposed to answer. It's one of the inviolate rules of your relationship. And as close as you two are, he wouldn't avoid your call less. And one thought compounds upon these to the next. And the little server behind the counter looks at you and your tray. You're holding up the line, sir.
Kind of snaps out of it, but he finds himself rubbing his heart through his shirt and just points at some random food. Sure, whatever it is, he'll eat it, but he's starting to worry.
He knows that he can be in Chicago in 46 minutes if he takes the Skyway where he is right. He can be at that club, whatever it is, within 47 minutes, including parking. Choose. That still technically would leave an additional 4 hours before he'd have to make the return drive if things got hairy. It is a consideration. And then your ex texts the address club your son is. It is with all due dread that he recognizes us. In the reports that he obtained from Cooper, one of the few things that was not redacted was that area. That area of River North is a known hub of blank and otherwise activity. That area of River North is a place where they have not managed to successfully get agents into unnoticed.
The plastic fork in his hand snaps. He stands forgetting everything else and double times to the office to grab his jacket and his weapons and straps them on, not saying anything to anybody. He has to go get his son.
He knows that with local traffic that technically it should be 46 minutes to get from where he is to the heart of downtown Chicago. He manages to cover that distance in exactly 33 and a half minutes. He is outside of the club and he is sorely underdressed. His very presence, he is sure, will cause a ripple effect. Dressed in, while Sash doesn't wear typical fatigues, and it being dark, hopefully once he gets inside, he'll be able to avoid too much notice and look around and find his son wherever he is and what he's doing. But the entrance, however, they have doormen who are forming up a line that is already stretched half of. They are all that he can notice there in that line, dressed with, there's a week of salad, there's a month of salad, there's a half a year of salad, wearing it on their back and in hands and cars they pull up in to get out to make a scene, only for the doorman to look them over once or twice and point them to the back of the. There does not seem to be an actual VIP presence. Everyone is equally the same, which strangely enough adds to the reason for people wanting to get early and get inside. Lo and behold, the moment that he has settled that there is no VIP, a short-ish blonde woman, and short for him is 5, her hair coiffed, pulled back in some elaborate plaited style. The fur on her back is clearly more valuable than jeans, looking as if they had been sewn onto her skin. And it is, even with his existential dread as to the safety of his son, it is hard to remove his gaze from her. And he can tell that he's not the only one that is having a small issue with not watching her. And the doorman smiles, steps aside, directing her directly past. On her arm is a blonde male he is sure has done more than be gave for pay. He is dressed in a shark skin blazer with dark jeans and some shirt with a pattern here that is 100% indecipherable. But even beneath the jacket, you can tell that he is built like what Mr. Olympian would dream to be. Behind them is a tall, statuesque Latina She is clearly 6'1", 6'2", and that's without the heels. And while she is breathtaking, she immediately catches the gaze. It is not nearly as powerful of an impulse as in front of her. She walks in, and she, instead of just being waved in, the doorman bothers her. She a quick hug and a peck on his cheek. She waves to a few people in line. She points to one gentleman, and the doorman motions him forward, and they enter in. And while she's dressed as classically and stylishly as the blonde ahead of her, it is clear that she is far more contemporary and sitting and watching the club. What is wrong?
He's trying to recall if he's seen schematics and a layout of the place in his information. As for another way in, because he knows he's probably not going to make it in the front door unless he tries to squeeze past with this current group going in.
As far as the schematics and layout, no. Actual information on the club is designed, remodeled. As far as he's aware, being a Chicago native at heart and coming home fairly frequently, especially when his kids were younger, he knows that the club has been shut down and reopened and shut down and reopened and remodeled about 7 or 8 times. The Succubus Club has always been that club to show that you've made it, and some things have clearly not changed. He had never had the inclination to go to the Succubus. He has never had the inclination to party with these elites, these people who are spending their parents' or their grandparents' money. It's never appealed to him. It's never been on his radar, though now he is regretting having morals and ethics and not being bought into bright, shiny. And then he sees something disconcerting. There's a guy with a red mohawk, leather jacket, and tattered jeans, an entourage of 4 or 5 other equally punk individuals. They dap the doorman, and instead of going in the main door, they walk outside of the building.
He smiles because that's his way in. So he very quietly, with stealth born of years of experience, makes his way and weaves himself into that little group heading in the side.
They move around the side of the building, take stairs down, and they go into what could be best described as a drunk's idea of heaven and hell combined to one space. It is dark and moody, and strangely enough, raw smells, an iron-rich environment, which immediately in his head triggers combat thoughts, or worse, yet it's missing that intrinsic phosphorus, it's missing that intrinsic mineral, it's missing that of exchanged gunfire. But in his head, with the scent of the place mixing, clearly purposely perfumed, it removes combat, copper irony tinge to the air, much like going to Vegas, where it's all almost pure oxygen being pumped in and mixed with the environment, making it easier to get happy or stay happy and to stay up and stay mobile. See people slam actual full-on throwback to the late 80s, early 90s, a wall of death being formed. And having associated with various members of society, he is more aware and understanding of punk aesthetic, because many of his soldiers along the years have been hip hop. Not many of them have been models, playboys of that ilk.
He is a man on a mission, and while all of this is playing through his head and he's taking in everything he sees, his son is first and foremost in his mind. So he needs to get away from these people and back up to the first floor, or at least scan this floor and see if the worst has happened and maybe his son just managed to be down here.
Alright, well, that being the case, to do a quick search of the environment, would you be so kind as to wits plus Which plus insight or which plus investigation, whichever is. It doesn't take long, but it takes long enough for him to scan the floor. He finds in the course of his investigations for the floor several couples coupled up in dark corners. You see one full out on one of the couches in the what amounts to a maze, all but full on engaging in non-penetrative relations. They are thrusting and running sound. Their breaths is enough to set his teeth on edge. The environment alone makes him shower. And what roughly is resolved? If it is his dump stat, he will be in sin and need to put his hands on the couple that he sees engaging in blood.
His resolve is only a 2.
Okay, so it's not his dump stat, it's not a 1, but because it is under 3, which would be some kind of go ahead and roll his resolve plus composure to keep him from separating the two forcefully, because they are engaging in blood play in a publicly accessible place. They are engaging in blood play in a place where he knows there are monsters that go bump in the night. They are engaging in blood play with what amounts to a rusty razor. They are all mistaking themselves out as lambs to the slaughter. His hand tenses and he immediately begins covering his six and checking who's visible and who, because these kids, no more than maybe a year older or a year younger than him, are literally waving a red flag to bulls they don't know will gore through their lives. He heads over to how would Ross separate? He get them to staunch the bleeding, get the fuck out of Dodge before the monsters realize.
Is it the male or the female on top?
Oh, it's 2 girls.
Being the gentleman he tries to be normally, he's looking for a safe place to grab that doesn't grab private areas, but settling for the back of one's neck, kind of like you would do a kitten, and he yanks one of the girls apart and pulls her in close so that his mouth is near her ears. You come into a den of death and play with the monsters. You're gonna die here. I'm trying to give you a chance. Get out now.
Hey, watch your fucking hands, dude. What are you talking about, man? Get off me.
Your father would be ashamed of you. Get out now.
Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your charisma and intimidation? Or are you trying to trigger some nostalgic memory instead of the dread of where she lived? In that case, it would be charisma and persuasion. Now, was that intimidation or persuasion?
He's better at intimidating than he is persuading him.
So all pretenses of soft, calm swaying of her mind is thrown out the turns with that. Fuck off me, man. And it's clear he sees the anger rising in his father. How is he whispering? He already has a hand around the back of the throat. Already is close enough that the feel of his voice could slide along her skin at the ear and jawline.
Obviously, you don't want to be saved. And I'm gonna try one more time. Get out before they eat you and nobody finds your body.
That strikes a chord that causes all semblance of blood to drain from her face. She goes pale. Her eyes take in the fact that he's wearing a dark ensemble with a jacket that barely covers the sidearm on his holster on his hip. He is a large man, and no one knows who she or her date is. She looks to her date, who's standing with a trembling razor blade, unsure as to what to do. She grabs her. Go, get the fuck out of here, Sarah. Let's go. Come on, hurry up. Let's run. And they take off like a herd of wildebeest, trampling louder than one would expect such a small person to be able to. Probably has something to do with the 3-inch heels on her Doc Martens and the unnecessarily excessive amounts of safety pins and band pins and various other implements on her jacket. Somehow, Ross manages to not attract any attention, which gives him all the cover he needs, with them making a scene departure to slip upstairs. Takes him a second or two to find the stairwell up. The first one he sees doesn't really seem to be conducive to easily slipping in amongst the crowd. Very close to the first floor is DJ booth. That even in a club like this, and even in a place like this, a lot of the eyes will be on the DJ. Who gets to go over to the DJ booth? Who gets to go over and talk to the DJ? Who gets love or dap from the DJ? It's all a matter of counting coup, a pecking order, so that they can wage social warfare amongst themselves. Because after all, what else do the rich, bored elite do in a situation like this? And as he makes it to the first floor, his son is dancing like a drunk soror. And his son's friends dancing, doing the pose. And it is clear that Jason has indulged in some mind-altering substance, because he's sweating as he's made of water. His hair, longer than he remembered from his last visit months ago. The dreads having been dyed. You see red and blonde, it's blue or green streak. He's hard to tell with the dim lights. But his friends, however, they're in like a humongous issue. There amongst Jason's friends is an individual that could be best described as heroin chic meets neckbeard. And he is hungry watching Jason dance, just like Jason's other friend. Ross recognizes the neighbor boy, Steven. He recognizes the Muslim boy who moved in 7 years. He recognizes most of his classmates, but that individual Ross does not recognize. He's close enough that if Jason so much as spotted a mouse, he'd be in his palm.
He steels himself because he is going to have to be careful about what happens next. He needs to get his boy out of here without starting the hornet's nest and having to make a run for it. So he doesn't dance. He's not going to put on the camouflage of trying to blend too much in, but he is going to very purposefully weave his way through the crowd, making his way towards his son until he can lay a hand around his wrist and get his attention.
Alright, you're doing this without attracting too much attention. Would you be so kind? Roll dexterity and stealth, Mr. Ross is sure that he is a ghost made. He is a shadow moving between people in time to the beat. And unlike most of the kids present, he is not moving when the screamo artist mixed with punk pop sings. He's not moving to the lyrics. He's moving bass. He's moving to the music itself and not lyrics sung or screamed there. No one should notice him. But between the raised arms and the pogo hops up and down, he loses sight of Jason for a second and regains it, moves almost circularly through the people to not discourage anybody, to not bump anybody, to not draw any attention to himself whatsoever. And suddenly that kid, his path, staring, a smile on his face. My, you certainly dress for the evening. Will you be my daddy?
Somebody should have been.
Oh, definitely. And he rests a hand against your jacket, his right against your left chest area, very close to the center of your chest where your heart actually is. You are such a strong man, and you're not dancing, smiling. Can I put a smile on your face?
He does very much the same smile that he gave Cooper. That I want to kill you, shit-eating thing. But I can't. So he just kind of grits his teeth and, you're not my type, sweetheart.
Oh, I know you're lying. I'm everyone's type. If you have a type, don't tell me you're ace. That would be a shame for me, but I'll respect your boundary. Yes, nicely.
They're very carefully realizing where this person's hand is and what they might just be. Slides his hand up and links his fingers through theirs like he wants to hold their hand, but moves it away from his heart.
Oh, look at that. We haven't even had our first sneaky link and we're holding hands. The kid steps closer. You're a little gray and I like the daddy look. If you hadn't noticed, let me get you a drink.
Lifts his bottom lip and thinks, if it'll get rid of this person, sure, why not? I'll take whatever's on tap.
Oh no, we will not do that. I don't like cheap dates. It says something about being fun, being able to celebrate themselves, and most importantly, come on, let's chew the bottle for us.
That inner turmoil starts because he's so close to getting his son out of here. But he could put him in more danger if he refuses this person. He's going to have to figure out how to get away from him again later. But, in the course of going with this person, he has his phone in his other hand and redials his son to see what happens.
Okay, would you be so kind as to roll your manipulation and subterfuge? Because there's neon lights, there's flashing lights, and there's a chance that the glare of your screen will additional attention, as they're almost about 75% of the people on the floor have their phones out. Most of the people aren't paying that much attention to them, and you, while a little older, have blended in with the crowd, so to speak, and caught his attention. So, are you? Oh, don't tell me you're on Tinder, or someone else is more important than me. That would hurt me, break my heart.
No, just making sure my wife isn't looking for me.
Oh, I like this. We are stepping out on life. This will be so much fun. I promise you. Let's pick out something nice. I am thinking you are, let me guess, you are cognac man.
Oh, you're smart. You got me pegged. Yep.
I certainly hope so. And he reaches across the bar and catches the bartender's attention. And the way he does it, instead of the normal obnoxious snapping of fingers or flashing a bill, he thrums his left hand across the top of the, and you watch as head after head begins turning in your direction. You have a hard time not looking at him, but your focus and intentions are all about Jason, and you manage to shrug off these suddenly star power that this individual has. You in your previous lifetime, during your initial tour, served as bodyguard, body man for several celebrities, both local and regional. Never really quite did a national, but you did do it, and you have been involved in that presence, that suddenly it thing that he has, you've seen dealing. So are slightly newer to it, especially with Jason so close at hand in such a dangerous position. But everybody else turns their gaze, bartender his way over and looks you up and down and let me guess, Bud Light? Don't be silly. XO, please. Nothing less than that. Preferably. Have it. Sure thing. Behind the bar. And the speed. Well, for the a snifter of it. And pour another snifter. Oh no, I'm straight edge. But my daddy here would love a double. Bartender sits around
with that grin. Whatever little Snooky Bear here wants. Pats him on the shoulder.
Bartender frowns, looks from him to you, pours a double, and before he gets a chance to say price, the gentleman on your arm reaches across the bar and rests his hand against bartenders, which is a no-no in any and every. Yet he managed to do so. Bartender looks him dead in the eye, a frown starting, falling away very, very quickly. Just put it on my tab. You know which one it is. And the bartender smiles. Yeah, sure thing. I got you.
If it wasn't for him needing to get his son out of here, he would be marveled at what he's learning. But that is being filed away for later. Right now, though, his son is still very important to him. And he's trying to come up with a way to slip away.
I like the risk of strangers, but I think that you will probably be perfectly to my taste. So, my name's Edward. Yours.
Despite the absolute churning in his stomach and disgust, has been undercover before and gone behind enemy lines, and that is how he is treating this. So he leans in to the other's ears and whispers, "You can just call me Daddy."
Oh, I definitely aim to call you Daddy, my but ain't bothers to reach up the 2 inches between your eye line, catch his thumb at the center of your chin. And his skin's a little cool, but not noticeably so, if not for you running so hot in the moment. He starts to pull your chin down so you really see his fishnet shirt underneath his long top trench, the soft, supple lambskin jean wearing. The fact that he's wearing a choker that seems to hold, honest to goodness, miniature railroad spikes done in either chrome or silver. The ring on each finger, and his hair, longer than Jason's, pulled into a top knot, wound one dread into the next, and his hazel eye compared to that pale, almost cafe au lait colored skin, looking for all the world as if he is the most chicest. Would you be so kind as to roll your resolve plus subterfuge? Ross has spent his life according to certain ideals. He fights for what he believes in, and that is the most important aspect to every facet of his life. He believes in giving himself. He believes in giving until it hurts. He believes in standing up for what's right. He believes in putting down what's wrong. He has lived his life by a certain precise amount of value and belief that one man can make a difference, especially if you give everything you have. If you spend 100% of your effort and focus in doing what's right, there is no way that wrong can stand. A part of that internal intestinal fortitude is also an adherence to timeliness, a pinpoint spit spot sort of life. He has been grading through several marriages, and luckily for him, only 2 children of any of those marriages. And while they often has hated his life of service, for the most part, even in those rough periods, they respected. They, however, in his life of service, didn't always agree with him always being prompt. His sense of time is impeccable. The fact that he's staring into his snifter with several moments having passed shakes him to his.
There's a slight urge to throw up, but he fights back as he comes to himself and looks around, checking his watch to see how long has passed.
7 minutes, 46 seconds.
Tightens his jaw to not scream, and he sweeps the floor again looking for his son.
Jason is laughing and holding hands with Steven, and it is clear by Jason waving at him that Jason has noticed him, and there's an honest smile on his face.
Picks up the snifter and very calmly, trying not to give anything away on his face, walks towards his son.
And as he gets closer, Jason lets go of Steven's hand, throws his arms around him. Oh my God! Why didn't you say you were coming home? Instead of surprising me. I like surprises, but I didn't know you were coming. I would have, I don't know, maybe, we could have went to dinner or something. Why didn't you call?
I did call you twice.
Oh shit. And he starts patting his pockets. Oh fuck. Oh shit.
Calm down.
Uh-oh.
You're fine.
You don't get it. If mom knew you were coming home, she would definitely call. You know how she gets. Fuck, Steve. God, where the fuck is my phone? Steve, where's my phone? Steve, over the music, yells, Eddie needed to use it. He needs to call somebody. You gave it to him about an hour ago. Oh shit, where is he? I don't know. He went up. And then Malik points. He's up there talking to that hot ass blonde, man.
You know what? Don't worry about it. We'll get you another phone. I'm sure your mom will understand.
No, he's just right there. We can go get it.
No, let's go. Come on.
What do you mean? You just got here.
Yeah, I did. I've been here far too long for somebody my age. Let's go.
Although he takes a second and frowns. Why are you dressed for work? Oh shit.
Keeping Zen.
Oh shit.
Carefully placing his mouth in his son's ear. Your mother called me concerned.
Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh no. Oh fuck.
He puts his finger over his son's lip. Let's go.
Okay. Steve, get my phone. I gotta go. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bring my phone. I'm by my mom's asshole. Fucking you. Sorry, Dad. Sorry. As you all make your way toward the front door, there is an honest-to-goodness cow in line. And no, not the stereotypical 10-gallon hat, but the leather skin, sun-bleached hair, the surprisingly hardy leather jacket that reaches just above his knee, and most importantly, what most people fail to notice, the honest-to-goodness pistol on his hip. You spot it and clock it almost instantaneously. It's like you spot the hidden dagger on the third girl back. Weapons are your thing, they're part of your life, so you see those before you see the people. Yet this standing in line with an honest to goodness old school fire on his hip, and no one seems to notice it. The leather jacket, while just long enough, should not be able to hide that bulge from it. He actually cares about security. Yet he's there in line, a smile on his face, and he's talking to a young lady, early to mid 30s, with a Hello Kitty backpack on. And you and Jason make your way out the door and across the street towards your...
I don't say anything until I get in the car.
That is so great to see you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to worry Mom, but she, you know how smothering she can be sometimes.
He throws the car in gear and aims it towards the house, and jaw clenching and unclenching, looks at his son. Do you know what that place is?
Yeah, it's a club. It took us 2 weeks to get the cover money together. And and we took an Uber down, so I'm not driving. No one's driving.
No. It is a house of death.
Dad, don't you think you're being a little...
I am... Just do your old man this one favor and don't go back there.
I'll do my best, but I don't want to lie to you. We're kind of here for moral support for Steve. Him and Eddie started dating about...
I don't care.
Come on, Dad. I know it's not your thing, but it's just a club.
No, it is not just a club. I have been protecting you for far too long, and you're determined to be an idiot, it seems.
Really, Dad? We're gonna call names? Come on, you're always working. You're gonna come home and you're gonna start calling me names?
He reaches for his phone and calls his son's mother and tells her that she has him. But then after he hangs up, he starts pulling up the small bit of access and a file on his phone. And he promised himself that he would try to never have to do what he's about to do. But this has now gotten too close to home, and he pulls up the pictures of kind that have been trafficked and found dumped by Kindred, and the few blank bodies they've gotten their hands on, that kind of thing, and slides the phone to his son.
Dad, I don't want it. As he says it, his eye scans the screen real quickly, and he responds as one would when being forced to watch torture. Like, I don't want to see that. God, I know you're a soldier, Dad. Everybody knows. Like, I know you do dangerous things. I will take your word that the place is dangerous, but I need you to take my word and understand that I'm safe. Like, we didn't drink too much. I've only had half a beer, especially at their prices. It's $15 for a bottle, and we took Lyft and Uber. We were gonna take the train back.
Do you not realize what these things can do?
Dad, I'm not looking at your torture. Look. I know you don't agree with the lifestyle, but trust me, Dad. I'm really safe. Like, you raised a good kid.
A file, and this one very clear what happens. They put a criminal kind or human in with one of these kindred that hadn't been fed in a couple days. And he pulls it up on the screen and holds it in front of his son's face.
Oh my God! Dad, what the fuck is that? I'm sorry, but are you serious? Oh my God, what did that?
Your friends from the club did that. That's exactly what they fucking are.
We gotta go back. Steve's still there.
I am taking to your mother's. I will send somebody like me back to handle that club. Oh. You are not going there ever again.
God, Dad, that's so fucked up. Why would people do that to each other? That's just, pull over.
He pulls over.
Jason tears out of the car as quickly as he can. Unfortunately, quickly as he can is not quite quick enough. He lands just outside the door, the contents of his stomach spewing forth. And with that, as much velocity and speed as it comes back, his gorge rises and evacuates from him. It is clear that he was also of the mind that having a good meal before the party was a smart thing. There is a voluminous amount of semi-digested and not quite digested food that exits him. Most of it splattering free of the car and his shoes, but unfortunately, in such cases, the splatter and splashback is not something that you can avoid in the moment. It takes him a couple of minutes, and he turns to come back toward the car and stops and turns back away from the car. And it's a ringing, wrenching sort of past tears and mucus streaming from his eyes and nose, his body racking and shaking. The information that you shared, of course, is the redacted, and it states human trafficking casualties, and it states it is a pernicious network of human traffickers instead of it out and out blank bodies. Most of the information that is removable has been safeguarded to keep information as to the actual supernatural nature of it from being accessible. Everything's covered. Your outfit, sash, sad, Knights of St. Judas, and even theists have armies of hackers, white hat, formerly black hat hackers, updating and slightly changing the information so that the truth that there are monsters amongst us all, and that many of them are indistinguishable from your neighbor, landlord, from your school principal, from the night janitor, from the police officer. They are completely indistinguishable, and they're able to hide amongst that information got out. The riots that would arise, the fear that would come, people would most likely do the dumbest things possible. They'd start stockpiling water. Companies that provide the ready-to-eat meals would go out, become billionaires and trillionaires. Delivery services that would keep people from interacting would skyrocket in value. The economic system would probably fall and collapse at least once or twice. And the whole while, the government would do nothing to help because they're not set up to help, not directly. They have people like you, people like your team, to keep people like Jason and his friends as safe as possible. And coming to grips with the fact that there are actually active human traffickers, as far as the information you shared are, that would do that to people is enough to cause a panic, to cause an essential dread. Is unaware. So what?
She hated having to do that because, if anything, it's the last person in the world he'd ever want to hurt is his son, but to keep him safe, he had to do what he had to do. So he gets out of the car, comes around to this other side, avoiding the vomit, and pulls his son into his arms and just kind of lets him cry and get it all out.
The tears flow fast, free. Jason was always a caring and reason to be a good best as you could, so that he could be a man. Unfortunately, his world coming to grips with the violence and ease yourself in such a blatant and unbiased moment. It's too much for him. It's too much for the average person. Hell, if you told your wife, you're sure that she would immediately begin boarding up the windows and ensuring that no one ever again. You'd be hard pressed to get past her to get out of the house.
Alright, Jay, I need you to pull it together for me. I'm taking you home, and if your mother sees the side of your face like this, she's never gonna let you out of the house again.
I'm sorry, Dad. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You didn't know. Nobody knows. And I'm gonna need you to be strong and keep this to yourself, but just keep you and your friends safe until I can get that place shut down. Okay?
You can do that, Dad?
I can do a lot of things you don't know about.
Tell me you'll send somebody back for Steven and Malik and Eddie. That's not a place for them to hang out. That's not a place for them to be.
I will send somebody back from the local office to check on your friends, okay? But let's get you home first, or your mother will never forgive me. And I'll never hear the end of it. And I need to focus on work. He helps his son back into the car, carefully kind of just like wiping what he can from the inside of the car. He knows he's going to have to get it detailed later, but he doesn't care about that right now. He just wants to get his son home.
He is successful in getting Jason into the car, and Jason is surprisingly made of decently stern stuff. He is able to compose himself enough so that upon inspection it simply seems as if he has perhaps had a rough night. After all, how easy is it being pulled from a party situation? And his mother, the moment that you walk through her door, Jason, Corinthians, and she stopped. Damn, Reggie, why'd you have to be so hard on him? And she throws her arm around him. Look, I'm sorry, your dad can be rough. You know how much of a monster he is. I was worried about you, and I asked him to come check on you. I didn't know he was going to be so hard on you. I'm sorry, Jason. Let me get you something to eat. Come on, let's get you to bed. This night is over. Reggie, I want you out of my fucking house. I asked you to take care of our son, not to come down on him like whatever the hell you just did caused that. What's wrong with you?
It's normal for him. He's heard it before, and it almost makes him smile because he'd rather be the eternal bad guy than have his ex find out what Reggie and now Jason know. He's like, yeah, I'm going. Good night to you too.
You know what? You're so fucking lucky that Jason is here. Just get the fuck out.
So scared. Yep.
You didn't realize that between intelligence and stalking the place and working your way through the club or something you might with that person today, it leaves you barely enough time to get back before your team starts to arrive. Deacon is my pinpoint accurate. He will be there in less than 49 minutes.
He does keep to his word, though. When he gets back in the car, the first thing he does is send a message to the local office about a good amount of what he saw tonight at the Succubus. Give them the address and the rundown, and that there are other potential victims that need extraction. He doesn't know whether they're going to go in guns blazing, but he's assuming that since the place is still there and they probably know what's going on, that they're going to be delicate about it. And then he aims the car for Gary and goes.
The Skyway is a pain in the ass because it's usually a significant amount of traffic, though it is the fastest route. He does not waste any time. He throws on lights and sound, and before you know it, he is in the hangar exactly 42 minutes later. That leaves him exactly 7 minutes to get desuited, debooted, and prepare the initial briefing for a team. The simple reconnaissance patrol, and they're playing backup. Although with his team of operators, they become to be known, even though amongst the organization, many members are tasked with certain jobs and it's not a rarity, but it's not often that your team is broken up. They've worked together off and on for the last 3 years, your purview, but in that time, they've also worked underneath Sanderson. They worked for Gamma. They've also worked under Beta. They bounce around because they are good at what they do. And while what they do isn't specifically SASH protocol, they can and do follow along protocol. They're a little more smart about it. You're slowly grooming them to be both operationally dependent as well as intelligent. And that task is not an easy one, especially being as you have to keep it from them because none of them are cleared for true access, even though they've all displayed skills at the softer side of SAG.
On his way in, he throws the keys to one of the grunts and tells him he needs it cleaned out and detailed. And then goes to grab some water to rinse his mouth out and kind of calm his stomach after all that just went on, and put his game face back on, waiting for his team.
Settled in the sit-rep room and the thumb drive burning a hole in his pocket, he settles and begins clearing his mind and focusing on tasks for the reconnaissance patrol, the backup, pretty much the auxiliary. They're pulling up and sweeping anything that they can. They'll be hitting up a few of the already set up roadblocks and the cordons that are already in place, helping both Beta and Gamma, which has already begun meshing with the locals. And the moment he begins thinking about meshing with the locals, several things hit his top. Jason's phone is registered to his mother. Jason's phone and his mother have been at that home on East End since Jason was 3. His high school friends, now moving into trade school and college, most assuredly have all of their information. His phone. And while he's pretty good, damn near perfect about not taking any pictures, Jason is his son. There's at least one he knows on Jason's lock screen of the two of them together at Jason's graduate.
Shit. He gets up and goes for one of the tech boys.
Before he can leave the sit-rep room, he sees Deacon pulling into the slot, followed by Ramirez and Gale is pulling up the rear. You know that Dobson will be along shortly, and so there's not enough time. So as he begins to pace, the team begins filing in. Where is Ross mentally?
Ross is not all there with his team mentally right now. He is with his son and his son's mother, and the fact that he barely managed to save his boy tonight, because he has a feeling deep in his stomach that if he had not gotten there in time, bad things would have happened, and they would be having listed him missing. So, how close to home that just hit is first and foremost in his mind, and it's keeping him like kind of distracted, even though he knows he has a job to do. So the fact that he was for 7 minutes mentally not available and brain wiped by one of these creatures also is something he's thinking about.
And pacing, gathering his thoughts as his team files in and speaking themselves at rest for the most part until the briefing actually begins. We leave Commander Ross, gathering his team. Thank you so very much. It was very nice getting inside Mr. Head in his environment.
Thank you. It was good to get to find out a little more about him, myself, and see maybe what his motivations for things are. And now he's definitely motivated.
Yes.